Dear friends and members of the KITION Planetarium Observatory, good evening. One more Science Cafe, as we usually do every last Tuesday of every month. And tonight we have two special things to mention. Number one is, of course, the International Asteroids Day, for which we are in the national coordinator for CYPRUS, the KITION Planetarium Observatory, and me, myself, as the national coordinator, I'm responsible to organize some events here and promote the science outreach related to the Asteroid Day in Cyprus, but also communicate with other colleagues around the world. And we have a special guest tonight, our friend and colleague, Alexandros Pantelides. Good evening, Alexandros. Thank you for joining. He's a paleontologist, and he will talk about dinosaurs. And we will try to relate the dinosaur extinction and in our talk related to the asteroids, as we all know about this big incident that happened 66 million years ago. International Asteroid Day. 30th of June every year, we celebrate the International Asteroid Day to commemorate the incident that happened in Tunguska on the 30th of June 1908. But first of all, what are asteroids? So asteroids are the remnants from the formation of our own solar system, and mainly they're found in what we call the main asteroid belt, which is situated between Mars and Jupiter. So between the inner solar system with the rocky planets and the outer solar system with the gaseous planets. Now, some of them are trapped in orbits of planets, and mainly we have the so-called Trojan asteroids in the orbit of Jupiter. And on the top left corner, you may see a picture of an asteroid, and this is a capture of the video of one of the asteroids we have discovered with the help of the NASA telescope in Hawaii. This is our first telescope. This is our first asteroid that we have discovered. We call it 2019 AN16. So this is how it looks through a telescope with diameter 1.5 meters. So this is how we track them. This was undiscovered until we discovered it. So what is Asteroid Day? So the Asteroid Day is a global movement, as it says here, that helps to protect the Earth from asteroids. So this global initiative encourages and empowers scientists, the governments, to share the knowledge among them, to share the technology and increase the awareness among the general public, but also use these technologies together to be able to have a bigger and a stronger tool to be able to discover more asteroids, check their trajectories and see and check if some of them are willing to are on their way to create an impact on Earth. Now, as I said before, this International Asteroids Day is to commemorate the event which happened in Tunguska in Russia, in Siberia, back in the year 1908. That time we had an asteroid which entered the Earth. It didn't exploded before hitting the ground. That's why there's no crater. And it devastated the whole forest. Forest of 50 kilometers diameter was devastated from this explosion, and it took them many years to reach that place because it was a very, very remote place in Siberia, and the army managed to reach it many years after. If I remember well, 20 years later, they went to this place and they found the trees destroyed like that. So the explosion of the asteroid was heard about 1 kilometer away, and the asteroid diameter was estimated between 50 and 190 meters. And the speed of impact was around 80,000 kilometers per hour. And there is I read somewhere that someone who was sitting outside his house on the porch after the explosion from the wave, the wave hit him 50 kilometers away, and he fell down off his veranda of the porch. So the KITION Planetarium Observatory is the CYPRUS regional coordinator for the asteroid part of the international initiative and committee of the national coordinators. And we are organizing an event on Sunday, the 30th of June, here at the KITION Planetarium Observatory, where we are going to discuss deeper this initiative. We're going to talk about the 100 Times Declaration, what it is. We're going to watch a movie related to the asteroids, and we are going to talk extensively about our own asteroid discoveries, because we do research here and we search for asteroids as well, and we have discovered 8 provisional asteroid discoveries that they were given to us by NASA under our names and the KITION Planetarium Observatory team, but also 663 discoveries that are pending, and they are called preliminary discoveries. So we will also discuss the impact, how it affects our everyday life, and why they are important to us, why we have to learn about the asteroids, why we have to search and find them. We're going to discuss here on Sunday the missions that were sent to asteroids. Some of them orbited the asteroids, some of them landed on asteroids, and some of them took samples from asteroids and returned them back to Earth. And we're going to discuss what we have learned from this. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about research and discoveries. So we have to empower the new generation to study about space exploration and encourage them to also to deal with the research of asteroids, because as we discussed earlier with Alexis, I talked to him about the motto that we use here: Asteroid dinosaurs didn't have the technology. We have the technology, so we have to use it and also increase the awareness. So this is our event, for the official event for the celebrations for CYPRUS. The event will start at 7 o'clock. There will be a small 5-minute welcoming. I'm going to talk about the Asteroid Day movement worldwide. Maybe we have an extra from the all-day event in Luxembourg, which is the headquarters, and we participate, and it is broadcasted for 24 hours. And we, as the national coordinators of CYPRUS, we also give a speech there, a lecture, and also give our part of awareness that we do related to this. We will then watch a movie. We're going to talk first about our asteroid discoveries, and if we manage to get the people that they were involved in the latest discovery, and Discovery 7 and Discovery 8, the last 2 asteroids, we are going to award them their diplomas that they arrived from NASA. And if not, then we're just going to mention them. And also we will show you how the asteroid trajectories were plotted. And then we're going to watch a movie related to asteroids. And of course, we will finish with telescope observations from the dome of our observatory. Now, since we're talking about asteroids, one of them, 66 million years ago, created what we call Chicxulub crater. Chicxulub is the name that was from the guy who won a Nobel Prize for that, and he actually developed the theory that the asteroid is a massive extinction of the dinosaurs was created by an asteroid. So he talked about the theory of a massive asteroid that hit Earth 66 million years ago. So this he found this crater. This is an image of how it was estimated to be in the early stages. A crater that was in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's also called Yucatan crater, but also Chicxulub from the guy he discovered it. So the asteroid is estimated to be it was at the beginning estimated to be 2 kilometers diameter, but now latest calculations, they say that it was about 10 to 15 kilometers in diameter. The crater is over 150 kilometers wide. And here we have to mention that if it fell somewhere else on Earth, maybe the extinction wouldn't take place. This is at least what is written at the Scientific America and at the scientific publications that they are related to this theory, because under that part of the Earth there were a lot of sulfuric gases. So it was very strong impact, and the Earth's crust was raised 25 kilometers high, and the speed was very fast, 20 kilometers per second, at an angle of 60 degrees, which make the impact more effective, and that send the maximum amount of vaporized rock into the atmosphere, as it says here. And also, what is very important, the plumes of sulfur-based gases that were released to the atmosphere that blocked the sun for approximately at least for 15 years. Some scientists talk for hundreds of years, and the weather's conditions changed. So the cycle of life was destroyed, and slowly those dinosaurs that didn't die from the impact slowly extincted because of lack of food and oxygen and so on. So this event is also called as the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event. Is mentioned as that as well. And to close my presentation, I have an extract here from the Lunar and Planetary Institute, which examined this crater with the latest discoveries. They found in all layers of a lot of iridium in many places all over the crater, but also in some other places they were at the same depth, which suggests that there was an impact the same time and at the same level. And this is an extract from the Chicxulub rock core. And you see here some places that there is microbial nursery as called. And I will explain here what it is. I'll just read through so I don't make any mistake. I'm not an expert on that. So it says here, an extract from the Lunar and Planetary Institute, that they made an expedition only specifically for the impact crater. So they said about this crater that is one of the most extraordinary scientific sites in the world. It is the smoking gun of the impact max extinction hypothesis, and at the center of an evolutionary radiation 66 million years ago that led to the origin of our own species, Homo sapiens. It is the world's best preserved peak ring or multi-ring impact basin on Earth, and thus a model for such structures throughout the solar system. So it's unique in the solar system as well, because it was a very, very big impact. And the Chicxulub crater illustrates how such impact events can chemically and thermally modify large volumes of planetary crust and produce unique subterranean habitats for microbial ecosystems. So that may be a proxy for the earliest of life on our planet, and potentially elsewhere where impact events modify hydrous planetary crust. So this is really impressive and gives an example here of what they found at the very bottom of the crater. So that's all as far as I'm concerned, and hopefully we'll see you at our event on Sunday. We will share more things.
Before I start, let me be, let's say, clear about something. I was noted just yesterday about this. Caught me a bit by surprise. I'm always happy to talk about all things dinosaurs. I'm currently a PhD student and I work on dinosaurs. But after hearing what George said, basically that it has to be combined today with Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event and the bolide impact, I was a bit, say, surprised and excited at the same time. But I just want you to know that it's not my specialization with regards to the extinction event itself. Although as a paleobiologist, I know, the typical things related to it. So with that in mind, I just wanted you to know this. So as I said, I'm a paleobiologist. I have studied and I am studying dinosaurs. Currently, I am situated at the Cyprus University of Technology, although I have nothing to do in terms of the subject itself with that institution. My collaborators are abroad, and I would like to thank Stavroula, Vasiliou, and George for inviting me to talk here today.
Great pleasure and honor.
Okay, and well, thanks. And I hope that I will give you very basic things about the. Actually, I was going to talk a lot more about dinosaurs today, but I decided to morph the speech today to much perhaps better your audience. I'm sure they're more interested in asteroids than dinosaurs, so I won't go into details a lot about dinosaurs. I'll just talk about the extinction event itself mostly. But before I get there, I will have to say a few things about dinosaurs themselves. So first of all, the word itself, dinosaurs, is Greek for terrible lizards. It was coined by Richard Owen in the 19th century. So back then, people were finding fossils. They didn't know what they were, and early reconstructions, after they coined the term, of course, dinosaurs, artists back then used to draw dinosaurs like this. We are sluggish, reptilian-like, almost dragon-like creatures, depicted as slow-moving and presumably cold-blooded creatures. And gradually through the years, this depiction changed. So I'm going to show you some pictures to appreciate how far my science has came since the last century, or 2 centuries, let's say. So you can see things like initially people thought that, for example, dinosaur tails were dragging behind them, or that even some of the huge ones were aquatic because people back then thought they couldn't support their own weight. And the bipedal creatures were depicted almost as tripods, as you can see the tail dragging behind. In the 80s, this was starting to change. You can see now that the depictions were changing to accommodate new discoveries at the time. The tail was hanging up most of the time. And gradually, you can see where we are today. So one picture is from 1929, and the picture below is from 2024. The animals are now much more depicted, much more active, perhaps even warm-blooded, although whether dinosaurs were warm-blooded or cold-blooded creatures is debated currently. And in the next slides, I'm just going to show you very, very fast and very briefly some of the how we depict dinosaurs currently without going into much detail. So you can see, for example, a striking difference. Some of the huge dinosaurs, like these titanosaurs here, are fully terrestrial. We know that they're fully terrestrial. Now we have trace fossils, and we know that they can support their own weights. We have even skin impressions, and we know that they have little armor-like in some cases. Or we can have dinosaurs like this ceratopsian, which is, its name is Cretaceous. It's a newly discovered one. And people are depicting them much more active and almost mammal-like in some sense. So similarly, we have other relatives. In this case, these are called ornithischians. This is a group family of dinosaurs. I was going to go into more detail about how we divide dinosaurs and the relationship, but I really don't have the time to go into that detail, so please forgive me for that. We know that dinosaurs were rearing their young. In some cases, like these Measara, or good mother dinosaur. We know this from fossils. Again, I would have included pictures. I didn't have the time, and I don't have the time to actually go into it. So modern depictions depict dinosaurs like this. You can see again that the tail is held upright for balance, and dinosaurs that used to be believed to be bipedal, such as this one here, for example, we know that they are facultative bipedal animals. Sometimes they could walk on all fours and sometimes in two legs in this case. And then, of course, feeders. We now know that a large group of dinosaurs, in particular the ones that gave rise to birds, that they were mostly carnivores in this case, but not only. For example, you can see these two here, these ornithomimids, mimics of birds, let's say. They are omnivore, hypothesized to be omnivores or herbivorous. They had feeders, and we know that because we have found fossil evidence for that. Even some tyrannosaurs have, not this one, sorry, it's in a later picture. So we have some peculiar discoveries in the latest recent years, like Dinokairos or other feeder type of dinosaurs. And in this case, this one is Eutyrannus. It's a feeder tyrannosaur from China. So this is just, to remind you next time you see a bird that they come from a royal past, let's say. Unfortunately, I'm not going to talk about the dinosaur to bird transition. So I'm just going to throw you out there a couple more examples of extraordinary discoveries we had in the last decade or so. Like this one here, for example, Yiki is a Chinese bat-like dinosaur, which was very weird when it was found. It was like, I thought it was in a little more than 10 years ago or less, I can't remember. So back then we thought that only animals like Archaeopteryx and dinosaurs that had feeders that we are looking more or less like birds would have given rise to the modern flying capabilities of birds. But by finding this one, we basically uncovered that evolution has taken a lot of experimental ways to flying. So in this case, this animal was probably a glider of sorts. But its lineage led to nowhere because eventually it went extinct, unlike modern birds. Another case is this awesomely, what's the word? Awesomely reconstructed model. You can see the fossil next to it. Basically, we had pretty much everything preserved in that fossil, from skin to even the cloaca, where the genitals are in, to these strange filamentous structures. All these preserved very well in this fossil, even the color itself and some of the bumps of the skin and everything. So paleobiology has come a long way since its origin. And one of the latest hot topics is that we even might have found a once aquatic dinosaur, or semi-aquatic, I should say. In this case, the Spinosaurus, a very famous dinosaur. If you have watched Jurassic Park 3, it's the main antagonist in the film, but in the film it was depicted wrong because back then we didn't know almost nothing about it. Now we know that it could presumably spend a lot, it could have presumably be a diver, although this is again debatable, but it could almost certainly swim like most animals. And yeah, it had a tail with a fin-like structure. plus the ozone, say. So this is pretty much what I was just wanted to show you about dinosaurs. If we wanted to ask anything, you can ask me later. But now I should go into more macroscopic, let's say, view of things. So dinosaurs began as small animals, chicken-like, almost like the Eoraptor here from South America. They began at the time in about middle to late Triassic, sometime between 235 to 225 million years ago, and they gradually expanded to all the continents. In the late Triassic period, you can see where we have found dinosaurs in this paleo map. And by the end Triassic, most dinosaurs were relatively small to medium-sized animals. When the continents began to break after the early Jurassic, dinosaurs radiated and diversified to reach every continent. Sorry about that. So that's about their history. But if you see the things in a time-like diagram, like here, dinosaurs have been on this planet from here to here, and comparatively, we've just arrived at the very end here. So what happened? Well, dinosaurs ruled, let's say, the Earth from the mid-Triassic to here, which is the end Cretaceous, as George mentioned, the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary. So what happened here? Well, extinction happened there. But first, what is extinction? So we define extinction is like when a species' last representative dies. As sad as that may be, a mass extinction is a much, much worse thing that can happen. Usually, we mean that a large portion of species that lived around the same time go extinct, like more than 50% in most cases. And in a short amount of time, like in a couple million years. We currently know of five such mass extinctions. They are called the Big Five. And these are the end Ordovician, the end Devonian, the end Permian, the end Triassic, and finally the end Cretaceous one. You can see some information in the brackets. It's not up to date, so that these numbers can be slightly different, and they also depend on what do you mean extinction, because it depends if you mean genera or species or families of taxa, etc. So I made this color red to point out that despite what most people think, the Cretaceous extinction was not the largest one in the history of life, but it was the Permian one, also known as the Great Dying, that was the most devastating of them all. You can see in the diagram here, this is just for marine taxa, and you see the percentage of, I think the percentage extinction here, the y-axis. As you can see that the end Permian one stands above all others. Again, don't worry so much about the numbers here, just the relative height here. And here, of course, the Cretaceous Paleogene one. So what happens in mass extinctions? Animals die off. In this case, can you see my entire screen, or is this toolbar here preventing you from seeing here? Can someone say?
I think I can see everything.
Okay. All right. So, well, I cannot. How do I move this? Oh, sorry. Anyway,
press more and hide control panel. Ați pasă more, Alexandru?
Vai să pasă more.
Bravo, ce caso ali oi da video panel, no control panel. Control, hide control.
I don't see it. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
No.
So in this case, you see you see the extinction of several families of marine animals and other taxa that go extinct in each mass extinction here. In the case of the Cretaceous one, you can see the marine reptiles like this mosasaur here went extinct. Ammonoids went extinct, as a lot of diatoms and these rudist bivalves. And of course, paleobiologists analyze these many studies and find patterns. Why doesn't it move? Something is not moving. Ah, okay. In this case, this is for all the terrestrial and marine animals. And again, you can see the yellow inverted triangles. That's the marked extinction events of the big five. You can see the dip in the number of genera here recorded from the fossil record. And again, you can see these ones here. Of course, there are other smaller extinction events distributed in between. Right. So the KT or KPG boundary, and people used to call it KT. I'm going to call it KT because it sounds better, but it's actually KPG now. Well, they call it KT because in the timeline, earlier people used to divide the Cenozoic era into tertiary and quaternary. Now we have more precise and better divisions that they start from the Paleogene, etc. So they used to call it KT and it stayed in the literature. But now the official term is KPG. Right. So what actually caused the extinction of the dinosaurs? Well, in early days, people have proposed a number of potential agents of extinction. Some of these, like dinosaurs being too stupid, or mammals outcompete dinosaurs, or even diseases eliminated, or even, I don't know, what was the other one? Because of the evolution of flowers, the angiosperms, dinosaurs develop allergies that died out. Okay, all of these are now known not to be true. But of course, but then it's, people thought various things. So at the time, some of them sounded reasonable. So currently, there are some more, say, thoroughly investigated cases, like the possibility that prolonged volcanic activity might have something to do with the extinction event, or even marine regressions that would have resulted in a less mild climate, and this climate change might have caused or contributed to the extinction. And of course, the bolide impact, which is what most of you here have heard and assume that is the obvious reasons, obviously. But let's take a closer look. So the asteroid impact hypothesis, some of these things George already talked about. I just make them a bit more storytelling, like a narrative. So this hypothesis was first proposed by Luis and Walter Alvarez. Walter, I think, was the son of Luis in 1980. It was based on the observation of the iridium layer in the sediment between the Cretaceous and the Paleogene, or tertiary. So in this case, this is the iridium layer, and below that it's a layer of microtectites. I'm going to talk a bit about tectites in a bit. So they estimated that a meteorite of about 100 kilometers diameter would be required to have the effect of this iridium layer. However, back then, no large asteroid crater was known. And then the crater was found. In 1981, geophysical survey found evidence for concentric rings of gravitational anomaly at the Yucatan Peninsula. So back then, this is the 66 million years ago geographic configuration of the continents. So the Chicxulub impact site was here. So the size of the meteorite, well, I know George said 10 to 15. I found 10 to 12. I'm sure they're, these numbers don't really matter about 1 or 2 kilometers. But when they dated, in any case, the crater, surprise, surprise, it was found to be the corresponding age of the iridium layer at the KT boundary. So again, this is I think this is the current day Yucatan Peninsula, and this is where they have found evidence for the concentric rings, where the crater is. And then, of course, further evidence came, things like shock quartz. As you can see here in the microscope, shock quartz has this effect of these lines here. They are formed after quartz is being well, shocked. I don't remember exactly what causes this, but in any case. Then, of course, we have tectites. Tectites are glass that basically melted sand that was converted to glass from the impact. And people have found them in various places, and they also found tsunami deposits in North America. And of course, they went to core samples, which was the groundbreaking study that George mentioned, I think. So these are just some simulations they made of the gravitational anomalies at the side of the crater. So short-term effects. Well, an object hit the Earth at that velocity. I'm not sure if this corresponds to the same that George said, but roughly about that. And that released huge amount of energy, which what I found was 1.2 times 10 to the 8th power megatons. Well, I don't know if this is currently the exact number in the consensus, but to compare the biggest nuclear detonation that we had on Earth, the Tsar Bomba in the 61, I think it was 1961, had only 50 to 58 megatons of TNT equivalent. So you can just compare the huge explosion that must have occurred. So the blast wave would be felt all around the world immediately. Well, not immediately, I don't know, matter of minutes or seconds. And the shock waves, of course, will generate huge tsunamis, as you can see in the image here. And these tsunamis will have obliterated everything. If anything was still at this range alive after the blast wave. So there's a funny story here. Much like the material that was ejected to space, sorry about that. Some have speculated that the blast wave might have thrown dinosaurs all the way to the moon. This is funny, but it's a real possibility in the sense that today the moon might have some real dinosaur fossils from that time. Of course, by fossils we don't really mean a skull, but fragments, perhaps even teeth. And that was coined to be the lunar dinosaur hypothesis. So if that is true, and we one day find dinosaurs on the moon, well, we'll have to consider that they beat us to the moon by 66 million years, which is funny, considering what George said, that they didn't have the technology. So there was a book that was mentioning this possibility. Entertaining possibility as it might be. We move on. So then we have the heat wave. Or I'm not sure if it's called heat wave. I call it heat wave. It's basically when the fire is, everything was igniting from the high temperature of the blast and the immediate effect. So catastrophic fires will have swept all over the Earth. We have evidence pointing to that, which is a soot layer various sediments at the time around the war. And of course, most animals caught in that heat wave, fire, whatever you call it, will have perished. So this is an animation where you can see how the fire will have expanded in this time here. So we were talking about mere hours. Within a day, half the planet will have been filled with fire. So you can imagine that poor little dinosaurs living in the other corner of the Earth will still suffer the consequences. So this is the soot. This is evidence for the soot layer being coeval with the iridium layer. So this is the soot parts per million. Again, this is the Cretaceous and the Tertiary above, the Paleogene if you want. And of course, we have the famous spike, the fern spike, which what that means is as the fire obliterated everything in its path, things like forests and trees, everything was burned down. So the first things to colonize the barren area from the effect of the meteor impact was ferns. So ferns are one of the first things that colonize areas where it's just barren earth. So we see around the same time with the iridium anomaly, we see the spike in the pollen from ferns, which is interpreted to mean that a lot of areas we are covered with pollen that was the first thing to grow back from the barren, desolate wasteland that it was after the. So the long-term effects now is a different story. So some 100 to 500 gigatons of total sulfur dioxide was released. So this one is a gas that prevents sunlight from entering the
atmosphere.
Yes, sorry. So it's kind of the reverse of greenhouse gas. And that, along with dust and ash, that will also have risen to the atmosphere, will have covered the sky and blocked the sunlight. That will result in a nuclear winter effect, where the temperature was going down, basically cooling, and animals, well, first of all, plants would be the first victims here, and then the whole trophic web will collapse. So large herbivores would die first, then the carnivores, then the smaller ones, and then everything else follows. So this is just an image showing the effect of dust and sulfur, and then the nuclear winter. So this is just to show you a diagram showing the effects through time, the effects of the impact of time. Initially, we have the fireball, the blast, the shock wave, blast wave, the tsunamis, etc. Then we have the fires that we are going for months, perhaps. Then we have the dust loading, the effect on photosynthesis, the dying of the plants will be immediately after a couple of years. And then other aerosols will have stayed in the atmosphere again for years. And some of them might have contributed to direct poisoning of whatever survivors were left. And of course, after that, we have greenhouse warming, and you can see the effect through time of the temperature here. Initially, we have a rise in temperature, then the nuclear winter drop in temperature, and then greenhouse gases will start to warm the Earth's surface again. Okay, so there are other contestants for the extinction event are the Deccan eruptions, a site of huge volcanic activity located in India, back then India was an island, was moving north, and it had intense volcanoes at the time. So they are called Deccan traps, and you can see the extent of the magma poured out of the earth. And some speculate that, not speculate, but they found evidence that relatively, well, I don't know, 30 huge short pulses of activity. I don't know if it's little or too much of pulses this. So 10 to 100,000 years in duration each one releasing 10,000 kilometers of volume of magma. So that will have the effect of releasing, again, sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere, along with, of course, the greenhouse gases. And it could be a potential source of iridium and peptides, but shock quartz is less likely. In any case, not to go into too many details here, some have speculated that the effect of this intense volcanism at the end of the Cretaceous might have similar effects to the ones people are attributing to the bolide. And there is an ongoing debate as to which one is the main contributor to the mass extinction. So, of course, it's not just the Deccan traps. Other things like marine regressions or what have you might have contributed to a gradual decline before the bolide impact. A gradual decline diversity, in this case, dinosaurs. I've just started a couple of studies to show you what people in my field are doing. In this case, this study estimated the speciation and extinction rates and found that actually dinosaurs were in decline before, relatively long before the meteor impact. And this was true, according to them, for both the herbivorous and the carnivorous families. Of course, others disagree. This study was by my supervisor. When they account for various biases related to the taphonomic processes, for example, to understand this, you have to understand what do we mean by diversity, how these curves are produced. For example, is it just the number of species we know of from a particular time? Well, that's the raw diversity. There are other measures of diversity. And of course, how you measure them and what biases you take into account will result in different interpretations of these curves and what they mean. The same with here. So people taking account all these biases and in different, let's say, combinations have found that either dinosaurs were declined before the KT boundary or that they were actually diversifying right before it, which in this case will mean that the meteor just was the major, if not the only sole reason of their extinction. And this debate goes on, and I'm not going to take sides on the debate here. I don't have the time to explain all these details going into this study. This is not even my expertise, but I just wanted you to know how things like diversity connects with things like the cause of an extinction, in this case, a meteor, or something. So the victims of the extinction, very briefly, we are all the non-avian dinosaurs, all marine reptiles other than crocodiles and turtles, or pterosaurs, some avian dinosaurs, or also known as birds, some mammals, obviously, since we are here today, some marine invertebrates like ammonites and rudists, and basically nearly anything weighing more than 25 kilos. So people have looked at this extinction and what things went and passed through the filter of extinction, let's say. So one noticeable trend was that strictly herbivorous and strictly carnivorous animals didn't make it. This relates back to what I said about the dying off of a lot of plant life, which messed up the trophic web. Whereas The survivors, on the other hand, we are things that we are more omnivorous, more insectivorous, scavengers, things that we are more generalists, as we say in ecology. Things that we are specialists, like, for example, I don't know, let's imagine an organism like a panda that only eats bamboo. If the bamboo is eliminated, then the panda will go extinct. But if some other animal that is a generalist, like a crow that can eat pretty much anything found in a city, for example, you eliminate one of its food sources, then it can survive with the rest. So in this case, small animals like small mammals, small reptiles and amphibians, turtles and crocodiles, and these two in particular are related to the fact that they inhabit freshwater habitats, which freshwater can act as buffers, basically, in cases where you have, for example, acidification of the ocean. Freshwater is not affected that much, and for other reasons as well. And of course, birds, which we all know today, modern representatives of dinosaurs. And of course, in the ocean, we have the fish, and sharks and their relatives. There are more, but of course, there's no point going in further detail here. So just another diagram showing schematically summarizing, let's say, today's speech. So we have dinosaurs on this side. We don't have dinosaurs on this side. Well, non-avian dinosaurs, I would say. A lot of marine reptiles didn't pass through, some clades of birds, whereas small reptiles, fish like sharks and teleost fish went through, and of course, some of the mammals and birds went through and went to evolve and adapt and diversify, and thus began the age of mammals. We have a rapid diversification of mammals and birds and other cave survivors. They rapidly filled the ecological niches previously occupied by dinosaurs. For example, some mammals quickly became very large. We had very soon after, in relatively speaking terms, we have animals the size of elephants or even more. And eventually we come into the picture. And that's it. I hope I gave you some idea, some impression perhaps of what occurred in the KT boundary in the short time I had. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Excellent. Alexandra, it was very informative and really impressive. Thank you very much for giving us this lecture and sharing your knowledge with us. Okay. And I'm really impressed with the publication of your supervisor. So if I understood well, he made the theory and the assumption that he had some facts that could suggest that the dinosaurs extincted before the impact.
Actually, my supervisor is one of the team of people that suggest that actually dinosaurs were doing pretty well before. It's the other study. This team of, it's not one person, it's a lot of people that behind this study, but it's not the only one. There are a lot of studies like this. And it's a debate that is going on for years. To be honest, it's not my expertise, the field of diversity studies. My supervisor is one of his expertise. I'm more of a Paleobiogeographer myself. But if you want, I can find out and tell you later whatever you want to know about this. So basically, it depends on the, let's say an example here. In this case, for example, okay. So you have the so-called dinosaur-bearing formations, and you can see that the diversity estimate through time. In this case, these are time beams. I don't know how if they are like stretched or it's just what's the word? when you make bar chart, like, anyway, this is supposed to be time, okay? And this is diversity of dinosaur species. So you see the trends through time. So the question is, are these trends real? Is this representative of the actual diversity that was happening? So there are a lot of things that can bias what you see and make you believe that, you know, this is true, but it also make it completely wrong. So if in this case, you see that the dinosaur-bearing formations are mirroring the trend you see in the taxa, that would mean that, well, where you have more dinosaur-bearing formations, you get more taxa. So is this saying anything more than that you have put more effort in, you know, selecting fossils from those locations? Is this representative of the entire planet? Is it a regional thing? Depending on which part of the planet you sample your fossils. And there are a lot of these things. For example, you might have sedimentary outcrop areas, and you quantify that, and you say that for some times you have a lot more sedimentary areas forming where you can have fossils. So in those areas, are the fossils you get in the diversity estimates higher than in other areas? If this is the case, then obviously you have some sort of bias. And then you have to check for these with various tests and see if there are residuals that are telling you otherwise. I don't know if you understand anything what I said, but again, this depends on who does the study and what kind of biases he or she is checking for. So I could then, of course, present you such data today. It's a whole discipline itself, and it will, if you want, I can do it, but it would take a very great deal of preparation on my behalf.
We are looking forward to your next speech about your specialization and also the other topic we talked in the morning. And because these subjects are really interested and also are very informative, and people are not being taught this in school. And okay, I'm not talking about deeply, but I'm not talking about going deep into the subject. I mean, but at least they should have been teaching this in school.
You know, I once went to one school, and kids were very happy to hear about dinosaurs in general. Actually, do I have time to say one couple things?
Yes, of course.
So we have a problem here in Cyprus. Exactly what you said. We are not, what kids are not being told, you know, natural history. This is unfortunate. Well, I don't know. In my time, at least, I don't know what they are doing now. But again, whenever I talk to people, you know, here and there, I ask this kind of questions, and I sample, let's say, their knowledge about these things, and often I find that it's very lacking. That's a very bad thing. I do understand that, you know, in Cyprus, you wouldn't expect this because, of course, we don't have dinosaurs here. Cyprus was, you know, underwater, under the bottom of the sea, but at the time of dinosaurs were alive. We have other fossils, however, and unfortunately, we don't have a proper natural history museum to house them. We only have private collector museums and other non-adequate places, let's say, to house them. And maybe that's a reason, maybe there are other reasons, but knowing about the past and natural history is surely a good thing, because it can help in, you know, first appreciating the life on this planet, where we came, where we're going, perhaps. And of course, in this case with the asteroids, it reminds us of the lurking dangers in space and what effect this can have in our life. So, yeah.
Can I add something? I have worked with primary school students for about 3 months, and it was amazing how scientific questions kids make. Seriously, their questions are very creative, and I haven't seen even one kid being asking about how life was created or how Earth was created, and these are questions all kids have. And then they are going to secondary school, and suddenly all these wonders are like fading off or something like that, and that's really sad. Especially for such an island like Cyprus, we have so unique geological history, and basically they are coming from university. Geologists are coming from universities all around the world just to study our geology, and we don't even know, we are not even taught in schools what we have and why we should be at least proud of where we live. Thank you.
That's excellent, well said. And that's why we created this part of we use this part of the planetarium to have a natural history exhibition, as you know, Stavroula. Thank you for being here, working with us these years after you came back from your studies, and helping us to maintain it and enrich it. And that's why we have also this, as I mentioned before, because usually the children, as we have an option for them to choose about natural history of Cyprus, mainly is related to the pygmy hippopotamus. And we also
we do have dwarf elephants, 2 species of them.
Yes.
We have the Genetta.
We have the whale. We have 5 different types of sharks found in Kakarista, teeth at least 5. So we have many.
We have the whales.
I should say that, with the exception of the elephants and the pygmy hippos, most of the other species I'm not aware of any publications related to them, which is very what's the word? Worrying. Some of these fossils are owned by collectors. Some collectors are willing to share their finds, some are not. And at the same time, we don't really know in terms, I don't know if anybody assessed what happened to, well, basically nobody officially knows the total, let's say, areas, the number of areas where fossils are, and what has been sampled and by whom. Some people might know, and some people might have every good intention to share their findings. Some may not. It's a worrying thing. Some of these paleo biodiversity might just sit somewhere and we don't know about it. And we don't even know if we're ever going to find out. And also, because due to paleontological policies that are regulated from international associations, when someone has a fossil in a private collection, it is not ideal for publication, even if you have access to study it. So unless someone picks it up and records everything, and
the information is lost when you don't collect it probably.
Even if it's perfectly preserved and you have it in front of you, just being in a private collection makes logistic problems. So we don't really know what in this sense is lost or not. And we don't even know if people came from abroad.
Because as paleontologists, when we're going in the field, we also collect data from the outcrop, from all the strata above and below, to make sure we have all the at least environmental conditions that took place before and after the strata, the bed that we are studying.
And we also make sure we don't damage the surrounding outcrop as well, because some future paleontologists might want to come and check it and so on. So these are, well, at this stage in Cyprus, these are just details, I say, because we're still far behind the rest of the world in terms of paleontology.
Now paleontology is being regulated by the Antiquity Department.
Well, that is
they don't help.
That is simply ridiculous. Natural history is not archaeological. It's not human history. It's different, and it should be under a different, division or something.
It shouldn't be under the
even the geological survey, for example. It's another organization we have. Of course,
the department, geological survey department.
Okay, they do what they do well. Of course, I'm not going to criticize people and they're doing their job, but I think they even have paleontologists there.
Yes.
However, we still have to make connections with institutions like universities. This absence from the academic world damages the entire field, because even you have a geological survey and publishes a few things, you don't have students learning about these things. You don't have foreigners coming to share and receive either education or samples and data, etc. So we are kind of in a situation of everybody's isolated.
What we do, Alexander, we have direct cooperation with the Natural History Museum in London. They are always willing to test the samples. They have a procedure that we follow, both for fossils and meteorites, because they are also a center which approves for meteorites. And in England, as far as I know, as I was told, they also have what we call the cocoon there, which is the Charles Darwin Museum in the Natural History Museum. They are encouraging people to collect the samples, to take them to the Natural History Museum. They test them. If it's a new species, they buy them from the collector, especially for the meteorites.
We do have Cyprus fossils in the Natural History Museum in London.
Yes, I know.
That's a fact, actually. I've been in HAM, and my supervisors are working with collaboration with NHM. So yeah, you're right about that.
We don't just have samples in the Natural History Museum of London. It is in the collection titled as treasures. They are so important that they are in that collection.
I had the luck to visit the backstage, and I have studied the holotypes of Charles Darwin from Galapagos, because there's one guy from Aletrigo. He's a paleontologist. He used to work there. Now he moved to Australia for research. And when he was there, he gave me access to the back of the museum, where they were studying the holotypes of many species from Galapagos Islands that Charles Darwin himself brought there. It's really impressive.
That's nice.
To see the first when we talk, guys, about the holotype, we talk about the first of the species that was recorded. The first animal, the first plant, the first insect that was recorded down, correct? Yeah? Holotypes. Yeah.
I should mention that me and Stavroula, we are aware of a few other people in Cyprus that are paleontologists or related in terms of discipline to paleontology. And we have even an informal group on Facebook page, basically. Well, currently it's in private mode, so it's just a little island, let's say, for people to discuss their ideas. But we hope that eventually we'll, have an outreach and become more official, say, I don't know, kind of organization, something.
It would be it would be a dream come true if we had the Paleontological Association in Cyprus. So we have a guy from Paphos who studies the fossilized fish from Bachna. He's a paleoarchaeologist. We have another guy from Nicosia who does hippos. It's me. I'm doing paleobotany. I'm studying the vegetation of Cyprus about 5 million years ago, and I am reconstructing paleoenvironments. And it's Alexis who.
So yeah, I'm not studying Cyprus materials for now, at least, but I'm working with dinosaurs mostly, and yeah, we hope one day to give a push to this field in Cyprus. So of course, there are other things that can be said that are related to the interest of people here. Biology is related to astrobiology in many ways. So I have done a course on astrobiology, so I'm aware of how the two fields are related. So perhaps one day we can talk about that.
And panspermia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, one idea that I like a lot is not panspermia, but the fact that life might have originated in the very, very early universe, when the temperature of the universe itself, the entire universe, was near the temperature where you have liquid water. There was a study, I think, in 2006 or somewhere there, and they found that, at that time period in the universe, you might have conditions for life. And then that will explain panspermia in the sense that you don't now need to put the the explanation going backwards with panspermia, because of course the origin of life is a question itself. So if it's panspermia, where the life came from? But if life evolved in the early universe because it had a tremendous amount of time in front of it to acquire complexity and reach life on Earth and reach the age of Earth, then that would explain that complexity gap in all living organisms compared to the simplest form of life.
But now we have results, examinations from many meteorites, asteroids that we have visited, that we have discovered all blocks of DNA, but broken apart, not in the ideal conditions to form the life, but we found them everywhere.
Is that DNA or just carbon?
Blocks of DNA. The four blocks of DNA. Not that the blocks that can form the DNA. I'll fill in
amino acids.
Amino acids, yes.
Amino acids are a thing,
hydrocarbons.
Amino acids is one thing, parts of DNA is another thing. That's a gap there that if someone is, say, advocating for panspermia, will most likely say that naturally occurring amino acids that are the building blocks of DNA are everywhere, so life would have come from outer space. But at the same time, the skeptics will say, wait a minute, that's just an amino acid, and that means nothing. Yeah, very interesting things to see and study, and sure, many more things than me about
that. Actually, we are talking about the five purines and pyrimidines that they make up the DNA and the RNA. They were detected all in meteorites.
Yeah.
So that's lots of DNA.
Yeah, I understand what you are saying. It's just that building blocks is one thing, and then when you have information on a chain, which is the DNA, it's a different thing.
Of course. So guys, thank you all for being here with us tonight. Since it was very interesting, And the chat was, the debate was really interesting, and thanks to the friends from Andrea, Daniel from Romania as well for joining us. Hello, buonasera. And we talked with, while this was going on, I talked with Stavroula Vasiliou, our other paleontologist. So, and I'm announcing now that on the 30th of July, which is our next Science Cafe, we are going to talk about the Perseids meteor shower. That is one of the very famous where to hide because of the holidays and because it lasts for 1 month. And here in Cyprus especially, and Romania, as I know from my colleague there in Romania, he's doing a lot of research and with meteors related to Perseids. So Perseids meteor showers, they are almost all the meteor showers are related to comets, and these are related to comet Swift-Tuttle. And when these comets comes near the sun, some debris is left behind, and when these debris enters the atmosphere, we have the meteor showers or falling stars, as we call them. We will explain everything on the during the next online Science Cafe, July the 30th. That's going to be the first part, and the second part on the same day will be a lecture by Stavroula Vasiliou, the paleontologist that we have with us today. And we actually ended up to the topic Natural History of Cyprus. So this will be very interesting and very specifically chosen subjects related to our surroundings. And since we know Cyprus is a geological paradise and all the universities come here, why not promote it? And actually, whatever is up to 2,000 meters above sea level, in other countries we find them 2,000 meters below sea level. So it's like walking downstream to the earth, to the earth crust, from the surface to the earth crust. But in Cyprus, we are walking from Larnaca to Troodos. It's like following that road. So it's really important.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So thank you, Stavroula, for your will to.
Thank you for the invitation, and thank you, Alexis. It was a great presentation.
Great pleasure, guys.
Thank you both for inviting me here.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
See you next month,
See
July
you.
the 30th.
Have a good
Thank you all.
night. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.